Hey guys, welcome back to another video in this series. So the whole idea of this series, guys, again I'm repeating it, is to help someone who is trying to get into DevOps, right? And help them in saving a lot of time while they're practicing their labs, right? So they might want to practice some client server architecture, or they might want to provision or use Ansible, like they want to work on Ansible. So in order to work in Ansible, you might need minimum 2 servers, or you want to build your own Kubernetes cluster and you would need minimum 2 servers, and more than two is something that you can also try, right? So when you are doing all of this in cloud, right, at some point they become so expensive. So if you are a good learner, you want to spend a lot of time on installations, configuration, testing, and all. So cloud is a costly solution, though they offer you free offerings, free tier limits. You might not be able to do or achieve the full extent in terms of practicing a specific application. So that's where this Vagrant comes very handy, where with just few clicks you will be able to provision your cluster, or you provision your virtual machines, and you can log into them and start practicing. So without Vagrant, you will have to spend a lot of time in practicing your provisioning your virtual machines, setting up of your network, installing packages and all. But with Vagrant, you will save a lot of such time. Okay. So what I've done is I have already created a couple of videos and uploaded where the intention was to show you how to install a Vagrant, how do we set up with basic virtual machines and all. But in this video, I'm going to more focus on writing your own Vagrant files so that you understand what is in the Vagrant file, and basically based on that, you will be able to modify it according to your use cases. Okay, so let's get started. So now if you see here on the screen, right, so this is an official Mastering Cloud GitHub repositories. So I will also share you this link in the description of the video. So this repository has this GitHub has the repositories. So going forward, I will be updating this repository with all the content. But now, since we are talking about the Vagrant, so I have created a Vagrant repository. You can see I have created 4 main folders. Okay, the idea is to depending on the requirement, someone can just log into those specific directory and then use the Vagrant file as it is with little modifications. Okay, so and I have also given you details of the cheat sheet, like the commands that we have as part of Vagrant. So you can also use them. You can use this as a reference, okay, while you are practicing your labs. So first thing that I'm going to do is I'll clone this repository. So I'll use this link, copy it. I'll go back to my directory. So I'm going to use this folder for all our Vagrant labs. So right click, open in terminal. So now I'm going to clone the repository. So guys, I'm assuming you already know what is Git and GitHub. Okay. If you do not know what is Git and GitHub, please comment and I'll try to create a video on Git series as well. Okay. So Git clone followed by the URL that we have just copied. So Git clone is where we are trying to get the remote repositories configured into our local server. Okay, and if you can see, there is this directory came, right, Mastering Vagrant. That is the name of our repository. So to get inside that, we use cd mastering-vagrant. Now I am inside my Vagrant. repositories, and you have all the files, like one for default Vagrant VM, two for single Vagrant VM, multiple Vagrant VMs, meaning if you want to provision a web server and app server, a web app and DB, then probably you can use this as a reference. And if you want to create like VMs, like multiple web servers, multiple DB servers, then you can go with the loops for multi VMs. Okay. So I'll start with single Vagrant VM. So I would say CD 02 and press tab. If you press tab, it will automatically, give this name for you and enter and ls. So in this, you have your Vagrant file. Okay. So the whole intention is to show you what the Vagrant file is, and I would use an editor here, so where you will have a clear understanding of what the file contains and all. So I'm going to use Visual Studio Code. So code dot. So this will open up a Visual Studio Code with the file in it. You can see it has opened, and click on your Vagrant file, and here is the file. So I have clearly described about what each of this line is all about. So for those who are doing it for the very first time, it will be easy for you to understand what each of this line is all about. Now if you look here, your every Vagrant file will start with below line, where 2 is the version of your Vagrant. So vagrant.configure2 do config.vm.box is equal to this thing. And from where do we get this box? Right, I'll quickly open up and if you just go and type Vagrant boxes in the Google, and the first link that opens up is the Vagrant cloud. Okay. So this Vagrant cloud is a repository where all of the boxes are maintained. Okay, so there are public boxes, private boxes, and these are all maintained. Like if you want, you can create your own box and then upload into this Vagrant cloud as well. Okay, so there is such an option too available. But I'm not interested in doing that because I'll be using the existing images. So what I've used is Bento. Just enter and /Ubuntu 20.4. So this is the image that I have used. Okay. So this name, whatever you write in your configuration file, should match with the box name available in the cloud. So any mistake in the box, the name of the box will result in an error. Okay. So make sure you are giving the right name, so that it will not give you any error. Okay. So the first line that I have written is, I am going to use a box that is bento /ubuntu 20.04. So when you initialize your Vagrant project, it will understand that, okay, this is the box that it should download from your Vagrant cloud. Okay. And every VM that we provision should have the host name, right? So whenever you provision any of the server, as part of your initial configurations, setting up of the host name, setting up of an IP address is a basic thing that we do, guys. Okay. So assuming you do not know how to do that, you are brand new to your Linux operating system. So this simple line will do the job for you. Okay. Where I'm telling that config.vm.hostname is equal to host1.example.com. In this, your host name will be host1 and your domain will be example.com. And I wanted to have a dedicated private IP address, so I gave this thing, which is config.vm.network, and it is private_network IP, this one. So you might be wondering, like, how am I using this, right? Like, how will you know, like, if you are the first time user, like, how we should use vm.network, or maybe here I do not want to use this custom IP or static IP. I would want to use a dynamic IP. So how can I do that? Okay, so remember this, guys. I always say this to my students. Okay, so when you are learning any new technology, any new tool, you should know how to use their official documentation. That is very much needed and very much mandatory. Okay, so I will quickly show you or walk you through the official documentation so that you understand from where I have got these values like config.vm.hostname, config.vm.network and all. Okay, so let's go back to Google. So type Vagrant official documentation. So here comes the Vagrant documentation. So you can see here there are a lot of things available. Okay, so now we are writing something on Vagrantfile. Just click on it. So click on overview. So you have tons of options available with detailed information. Like I said in my previous videos, earlier we were using 1 because the Vagrant version was 1. Now it is 2 because the Vagrant version is 2. And you can see config.vm, right? That's what we are using, config.vm.box, config.vm.network. So these are all the options like VM base address, boot time, vm.box. So, and if you click on this, I am opening in a new window so that it will be easy. So if you click on it, you can say that, it's a string. So this configure with box, okay. And the value here should be the name of the installed box or shorthand name of the box. And we are looking for, see here, config.vm.hostname, it is again a string. Okay. So you can tell that, what it does. So these are the values that we take. So nobody remembers all of these things, guys. Okay. And even you don't have to try memorizing them. If you know how to use the official documentations, all the technology that you are learning going forward will be so easy for you. Because I have seen students stressing themselves in remembering the commands, in remembering the syntaxes, in remembering or mugging up the files. So you don't have to do that, okay? All you have to do is that understand the concept and make yourself comfortable with the official documentations, then you are good, okay? So this is something that we use based on your requirement. You can always come here, look into those values and then configure them. Then it should work pretty fine. Okay. So I have taken a very basic values which are like more than sufficient for someone to get started. And here is a config.vm.provider. Like we have various providers like VirtualBox is one, VMware Workstations, VMware Fusions, all of them. So the reason why we are using VirtualBox is it is an open source. Okay, VirtualBox is an open source, and I'm going to set all the names here. Like I'm telling that the VM that I'm going to create will be the web1. Okay, so here if you observe, I have given my host name as host1 and I have given the name as web1. So it's up to you. Like I will configure it as host1. And the amount of memory that I would like to have is 1024 and CPUs is 2. Okay. Now there are two ends here because see, one end is closing this specific config, which is a provider config. The second end is closing the actual config. Okay. So this all looks good. Now let me go ahead and initialize the project. Okay. Save. So here is a trick, guys. You see now this will fail. Like when I initialize it for the very first time, you will see an error. Okay. So if you observe in the previous video, whenever you do a Vagrant init, it will initially create a Vagrant file. But in our case, Vagrant file already exists. Okay. So that's where you would see an error. So to overcome that, let me see the subcommands we have in the Vagrant init. Taking a lot of time. Okay, you got it. So you can see there is an option called template, which is file path to custom Vagrant file template. So I'm going to use that. Okay. Just copy paste it. So again, guys, you don't have to remember each and every command syntaxes. Okay. So you can, if you know how to use the commandlets, it's easy. Like, this is how we can do it. Like, go with help, it gives you the options, try using those options and use it. And say Vagrant file already exists in the directory, remove it before running Vagrant init. Okay. So that's okay. I think I should go ahead and say Vagrant init. Let me try Vagrant init. It is telling me that remove the Vagrant file. It already exists. And says remove it before you run. Okay. 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 I think it's initialized. Like when you see this dot vagrant, meaning it is initialized. Now let me go ahead and say vagrant up. So vagrant up should read your custom vagrant file, and it should start downloading the box, setting up the IP address, and all of those things. You can see it says bringing machine default app with VirtualBox as a provider. So the time it takes basically depends on the speed of your laptop, the internet that you are using, right? All of those contributes to how fast your VM is being provisioned. So now it looks like it's booting up, and you can see the VM in your Oracle VirtualBox. You can see the host 1 is running. Let's wait for it to come up. Setting host name. It's enabling your network interface. So it's done. If you see here, it's almost done. It's done. It's not almost done. It's done completely. Now, if you look here, guys, this is a tricky part. Okay, I am in my Vagrant folder. Inside that, there is another directory called Mastering Vagrant. This Mastering Vagrant has various other folders, but the project that I have initialized is this one, 02 Single Vagrant, right? This is one which I have done. So now I am going to execute the commands. So all the commands that you execute should be, or all the commands that you are going to execute should be executed from within this directory, from where you have initialized your Vagrant. Okay, so Vagrant so we can do a Vagrant list, but I'll show you the sub commands we have. So you can see these are all the sub commands that we have as part of your Vagrant commands. So you can just say up is what we have done, which is starts and provisions the virtual environment. Okay, and init we have already seen, it initializes the Vagrant environment by creating a Vagrant file. Okay, and halt is for you to show all the commands that we have. Okay, now we have already provisioned a VM. Then look for the command that better suits your requirement. In my case, I need the status. Okay, you can see there is this status option, outputs the status of the virtual machine. Okay, so this is what I am looking at. Now I am going to execute a command which is Vagrant status. So Vagrant status will show you the VMs that is running, whether the VM is powered on, powered off, it is halt, it's running. So if you see here, the VM is running. Now I would like to enter inside my VM. Okay, I am still in my Windows machine now. Now I have provisioned a Ubuntu server. I want to log into that server. So how am I going to do that? Vagrant space SSH. Again, this command you can get it from the Vagrant command list. Okay, so Vagrant space SSH, enter. So while you log into the VM, I have already shared you this content, guys. Okay, so if you look at our Vagrant repositories, I have shared you all the commands. Okay, and we can always use them as a reference while you are practicing. Okay, so now I have successfully entered into my Ubuntu VM. You can see that after I did a Vagrant SSH, it has provisioned. You can see the memory usage, swap usage, and Vagrant, and host 1 is the name I gave. So type host name. You see there is a host 1, and I am a normal user now. Type ID. You can see I am a normal user Vagrant. If in case you want to become a root, you will type sudo su hyphen. Now I'm a root user. So as a root user, you have all the access to your operating systems. You can do whatever you want to do, any installation, configuration, things you can do. And you can already see that here it comes the IP address, like the IP address that you have configured. Or you can type API adder show just to make sure it shows up the IP address that you have configured. Yes. Okay, so it's all there. Now exit. Now let's say I also exited off it. I'll come out completely. Now I am in the project. If I come out of this project, just go one step backward. Okay. Now I wanted to see my Vagrantfile virtual machine. So if I type the command, this command will not work, guys. This is what I was talking about, because you are outside your project. So when you are outside your project, your Vagrant status command will not work. Okay, clearly it says that a Vagrant environment or a target machine is required to run this command, run Vagrant init to create a new Vagrant environment, because it doesn't know. Like, your laptop may be having multiple Vagrant projects, but you should tell that which project you are running this command against. But if I enter into my project, which is 02, and run the same command, which is Vagrant status, now it will give me a status of the VM, which is running. See, the status is running. Now, every time you as a system admin, or when you are working on different projects, it might be difficult for you to come into this specific VM and then execute Vagrant SSH and then log it, right? So you should be able to log into this server as and when you want by using the IP address. So we have already configured our VM with the IP address. So you can use this tool called PuTTY and provide the IP address 192.168.95.120. Let me cross check the IP address. Yes. And I'll change the font so that you can see it clearly on the screen. So since this box is downloaded from the Vagrant Cloud, the default username and passwords are already configured. Vagrant is the username and password is also Vagrant. Looks like I typed it wrong. Hey. Come on. Hey. This is strange. Okay. Okay, let me retry the authentication. Restart session. Hey. Let me give it a try one more time. So the default username and password is Vagrant, guys. So there is no doubt about that. 5.120. Again, the font is less. Let me change the font. See, now it worked. I don't know. I mean, I might be entering the username and password wrong, but the username is Vagrant and password is also Vagrant. So with that, I have successfully logged into my Vagrant VM. Okay, so it's that simple, guys. Very useful for you when you are practicing your Linux or any other servers, web servers, DB servers, or all of these things. Okay, so let me exit. Now my VM is running, so it is advised when you are not using it, you better shut it down so that it won't unnecessarily use your resources. So you can say Vagrant. There is a stop, so or halt, which you can stop, but I want to destroy it. So Vagrant destroy will completely remove your VM. Okay. So if you want to come back to the VM again, I would recommend you to stop the VM by using Vagrant stop. So it's asking you, are you sure you want to destroy the default VM? Yes. So done. Now type Vagrant status. Now you will not see any VM here that shows it's running. See, it says not created. So with that, I have clearly shown you guys. So we were using our GitHub. I have downloaded the repositories. I logged into one of the project, initialized it, and I did a Vagrant app. My VM was up and running. Okay, so in the next video, I will show you how to create 2 VMs at a time. Okay, so we use the same configurations, but a slight modification is given there. And with that, you will be able to see how a multi-VM can be provisioned in Vagrant. So that's all for now. So please like, share, and if you have any questions, please do comment. Okay. Thank you and see you in the next video.